Fletcher Knox hadn't expected his uncle's passing to leave him with anything more than an abandoned ranch and a mountain of unpaid bills. But when he entered the door of that dusty homestead, he knew he'd inherited something much darker. A secret that wouldn't remain buried. She was in his kitchen. Her white dress now hung in shreds, streaked with dirt and stained with what appeared to be dried blood. Her feet were bare, pushed against the cracked wooden floor, her dark hair disheveled. What disturbed Fletcher wasn't her appearance. It was the knife she held in her hand. She wasn't grasping it as if she were a desperate woman defending herself. She held it like someone who had already decided the price she was willing to pay. "You're going to lie with me," she said, her voice steady even as her hands trembled. Fletcher froze, the saddlebags slipping from his grip and thudding against the floor like a gunshot. She didn't flinch. She just stood there, calm, patient, like someone who had already lost everything worth protecting. Behind her, Fletcher noticed the evidence of her life here. A pallet of rags in one corner, Ken stacked neatly on the other, and scuff marks on the wall where she had scratched out a calendar. This ranch was rumored to have stood empty for years. The whole town had vowed it. So who was this woman? How long had she waited for him? "Miss?" Fletcher said slowly, holding up a hand as if coming near something hurt. "I believe you're mistaken." She clutched the knife tighter. "No mistake. You're here now. That means they'll be along soon. And when they arrive, they'll want to know why you didn't kill me." She took a step forward. Fletcher saw the flames in her eyes, desperation mixed with cold determination. This wasn't craziness. This was planning. She had practiced this moment, perhaps even in front of other people who hadn't lived through the confrontation. "Who is coming?" Fletcher asked, his voice low. For the first time, her mask cracked. She looked towards the window, where late shadows stretched across the vacant corral. "You really don't know, do you?" Her knife trembled. "Then why are you here?" Fletcher took the deed papers from his coat pocket, the papers that had led him back to this god-awful ranch. But when his eyes landed on the date, his blood turned icy cold. His uncle was supposed to have signed the ranch over to him 6 months after he was dead. The woman's mouth curled into a smile, but it was far from warm. "Now you're starting to get it. Your uncle didn't just leave you a ranch, Fletcher Knox. He left you a curse that's been festering in these walls." She knew his name. She had waited for him. And as if to seal the nightmare, Fletcher heard it. Hoofbeats, distant at first but growing louder, pounding across the ground like a countdown. The woman, Tabitha Cross, worked fast, collecting discarded cans into a soft leather satchel with practiced haste. Each movement was economical, swift, as if a person who understood that the loss of seconds might equal death. "How many?" Fletcher breathed, edging toward the window. "Stop," she growled. "If they catch sight of your shadow, they'll realize that another person is here. Then they'll roast us alive in this house." The hoofbeats were louder. Fletcher could count at least 3 riders, possibly more. Instinct cried out for him to leave, to climb onto his horse and never return. But Tabitha pulled open a secret panel in the wall, a small space in the darkness. "Men who think they can own the world," she spat. "Including me." Fletcher hesitated, long enough to sense the gravity of the decision. Then, defying every reflex he'd cultivated in 40 years, he pushed in beside her. The panel closed, and night engulfed them. Through narrow crevices in the wood, Fletcher observed shavings of the kitchen as the horseman rode up. The front entrance exploded open, the walls vibrating from the blow. Boots thundered. Spurs rang out. A brusque voice, thick with a foreign accent, shouted commands. "Quarter every room. She's been here. The fire is still hot." Tabitha's hand clamped around Fletcher's arm in the shadows, her lips against his ear. "If they find us, say you never saw me." Furniture splintered above. Then came a shout. "Boss!" New saddlebags by the door. Fletcher's gut fell. His gear, the only thing he forgot in his shock, was now with them. Another hesitation. Then the sound of the foreign voice, thick with pleasure. "So, there is someone new here. Locate him, and fetch me her satchel." Next to him in the blackness, Fletcher could sense Tabitha tense. Whatever was inside that satchel on the floor above was worth anything. And now, it was in the hands of the men she most dreaded. The foreign voice finally ended the silence. She was here, but she's gone now. Headed for the river crossing, no doubt. We'll catch her there. But first, burn this place. Leave her nothing to return to. Through the narrow crevices in the wall, Fletcher noticed one of the men unscrew a bottle and pour its contents in quick splashes upon the wooden floor. The pungent, acrid aroma of coal oil wafted through the air. Within minutes, the house would be ash and fire. Next to him, Tabitha shook. Her breath was shallow gasps, but her voice was steadfast. When I tell you to run, you head out the back. Don't seek me out. Don't try to save me. Run. The men strode through the rooms with cold patience, splashing everything with oil. Then a younger voice shouted from upstairs. Boss, found something you'll want to see. Heavy boots thudded down the stairs. The older man stood in the lamplight, his silver hair illuminated, his scarred fingers rummaging through a packet of letters bound with ribbon. He read the name aloud slowly, relishing it. Catherine Cross. His lips curled into a smile. So that's what she's using now. Sentimental, retaining the maiden name. Fletcher could sense Tabitha freeze next to him. She did not breathe, did not budge. Those letters, the old man went on, pocketing them in his coat, will pay their way. The younger man inquired, Shall we burn it? No, the leader replied harshly. Let it stand. She'll come back for those letters one day. And when she does, we'll be ready. Relief began to seep in, until Fletcher's boot moved. The spur grated against the wood, keen as a knife cutting through silence. The footsteps ceased. Did you hear that? Fletcher pushed himself against Tabitha, willing himself smaller, but the hiding place was too small. The old man's boots creaked nearer. His shadow fell across the panel. Perhaps just a rat, the younger voice grumbled. Rats don't wear spurs, the leader responded coolly. His hand rested against the panel. This piece sounds hollow, he said in a casual, almost laughing tone. Come out now, and perhaps I'll see fit to let you keep breathing. Fletcher braced for the panel to tear open, but Tabitha moved first. She reached upward, loosening a section of wall above their heads. Dirt rained down, and there, through a jagged gap, Fletcher saw sky. A way out. The man's voice turned colder. I'll count to 3. If you're still in there, I'll put a bullet through the wall. 1.
Tabitha met Fletcher's case.
The warning was unmistakable. Trust me or die here. Then she ascended, her body sliding through the tiny opening with inexplicable poise. Fletcher climbed behind, his racing pulse beating so hard he could have sworn they'd be able to hear it. 2. He crawled up, splinters tearing at his palms. 3. The shot ripped through the air, shattering the wooden wall that they had only left. Splintering wood flew in knives. A blast ripped up, shattering the ceiling mere inches from Fletcher's boots. He could sense the heat of the muzzle flash scorching his skin. Tabitha was already on the roof, running with the confidence of one who had done it before. Sun-baked shingles burned through cloth, but she ran like she was stepping on stones in a stream. Fletcher trailed behind her, each creak of the roof sounding like a warning bell. They're on the roof, someone yelled down below. Circle the back. Watch the sides. The worn shingles slipped loose under Fletcher's footing, falling to the ground with the sound of crackling thunder. Tabitha didn't break pace. She hit the far side, peered down at the 20-foot fall and said softly, There's a water barrel at the back of the barn. If we crash into it, we'll survive. Fletcher narrowed his eyes at the distance, 8 feet out from the house. A jump that required impeccable timing, or death. And what if we don't make it? He grumbled. Then we die quick instead of slow. She faced him, and for the first time since he'd met her, the steel softened in her eyes. He glimpsed something behind it, gratitude. Thanks for sticking around. Most men would have bolted. Before Fletcher could say anything, she was off, her body flying through the air, arms outstretched for rescue. Tabitha struck the water barrel first, splashing hard but rolling clear of it in one sweeping motion. Fletcher followed her, but his own landing was awkward. He struck the edge, felt the barrel fall and spill, then landed in the mud. The jar left him breathless, pain searing down his shoulder. "Go!" Tabitha pulled him up. "They'll be on us in 2 seconds." They ran together toward the cottonwoods along the creek bed. In the distance, boots pounded over the hard ground. A rifle discharged, bark shuddered off a tree mere inches from Fletcher's head. He fell into the shallow creek alongside her, the icy water seeping through his clothing. The current pulled at his boots, fast and deadly, but it would erase their tracks. Tabitha knew the path, leading him as if she'd drawn every turn herself. "The letters," Fletcher panted, breath uneven. "Catherine Cross, that's your true name." Her eyes flashed back, and her face hardened. "Catherine's dead. Has been for 3 years. Tabitha's just what's left." "Then what was in them? What do they want with those letters?" "Proof," she replied laconically. "Proof that could destroy more than me." A yell pierced the air. The men were closing in. Before him, the creek widened into a large, open valley with no cover, nowhere to hide. Tabitha came to an abrupt stop, faced him, her eyes blazing with urgency. "Fletcher, listen. What I'm about to tell you will change everything you thought you knew about your uncle." The current swirled around their boots as she gripped his arm hard. "Marcus didn't die of fever like the town believes. Heinrich Weiss killed him, slowly, and he made me watch." Fletcher felt the ground tilt beneath him. "Weiss, the scarred man who'd nearly burned them alive." "That's impossible," Fletcher stammered. "The doctor signed off on it. My uncle died in bed." "Doc got paid," she snapped back. She dragged him under the cover of a willow, voices and hoofbeats ringing closer behind them. "Marcus found out that Weiss was arming the tribes with guns and fanning war so he could sell supplies to both of them. He was about to turn it all over to the marshals." Her jaw clenched, her voice sharp with pain. "I was his witness. I followed the shipments, the dates, the buyers. I was a schoolteacher. Marcus relied on me to write down every detail. I believed in doing what was right would keep me safe. I was stupid." A rifle snapped, splintering a branch over their heads. Fletcher took her hand and they dove deeper downstream, using the curve of the creek as a cover. "Those letters they discovered," Fletcher declared in excitement. "Were they your reports?" "Some," she confessed. "The rest were his letters to me." She hesitated, her color rising even amidst the commotion. "Marcus was wooing me. We were going to wed." Fletcher's breast constricted. The pieces fitted into place. His uncle, solitary all these years, had found someone to live for finally. And that love had cost him his life. "Weiss tormented him," Tabitha murmured. "He only cracked when they threatened my whereabouts. Marcus died purchasing me the opportunity to flee." The creek narrowed, waist-deep in icy water. The cold penetrated Fletcher's bones, but the blur of the water erased their path. The yelling of the men faded away, but then there was another sound echoing through the canyon: hounds. Barking. Starving. "Why didn't you go to the marshals yourself?" Fletcher asked. Tabitha laughed bitterly. "With what? Weiss controls half the government out here. The other half's too scared to go against him. Those letters were the only proof that could have pinned him. And now, they're in his possession." The dog's barks louder, closer. Fletcher's mind scrambled. He gazed at Tabitha, wet, desperate, but fixed with the same flame he'd seen in Marcus's eyes. "Then we steal them back." Tabitha halted in her tracks, gaping at him as if he'd gone crazy. "That's suicide. Weiss has a minimum of 6 men, perhaps more." "Perhaps," Fletcher replied, "but you're the only witness. Without you, Weiss goes free. And I'll be damned if I let my uncle's killer live one more day." The hound's howls bounced off the canyon walls, closer, feral with the scent of blood. Tabitha shaked her head, water dripping off her matted hair. "You don't know," she whispered. "Weiss doesn't just have men. He has power. He has influence. Judges, sheriffs, territorial officials." Tabitha's voice tasted bitter. Even if we did get the letters returned, who would we turn them over to? Fletcher had wondered the same thing, but an idea was building. Marcus wasn't trying to contact local lawmen. He shot higher. Federal marshals. They are not swayed by territorial politics. Her gaze darted in the waning light. Do you recall which marshal? Carson. Out of Denver. Fletcher's jaw clenched. Denver's 200 miles through Weiss's country. We'd never get out alive. The creek behind them splashed. Pursuers had discovered their track. They had minutes, perhaps less. There's another way, Fletcher said, the thought solidifying into determination. Weiss thinks he's tracking a schoolteacher and a clueless heir. He doesn't know I've driven cattle drives 15 years. I know every trail between Colorado and here, every pass, every canyon. Something moved in Tabitha's eyes, something approaching hope, but hope was suicidal out here. Even if we could make Denver, Weiss would pursue. He can't allow us to live. Then we see to it he can't pursue, Fletcher growled, dragging her to the bank where dense brush hid them. But first, we return for those letters. That's suicide, she spat. He'll anticipate us making a run, not coming back. Exactly. Weiss is clever, but he's arrogant. He thinks we're prey, scared, desperate, blind. He won't expect us to circle back and hit him. They scrambled up the muddy bank, just as the first dog burst around the creek's bend. Its baying split the night, answered by the howls of more hounds and shouts from men. There, Tabitha pointed. A game trail ascended the hillside. It connects to the old mining road. From there we can get over Weiss's camp. The ascent was ferocious. Soaked clothes hung heavy on them, boots sliding on loose ground, and each rock wanted to pitch them down. Behind, the dog's barks became loud, hysterical. Fletcher, Tabitha panted as they ascended. There's something about those letters I didn't tell you. He stood still, looking at her face in the darkness. Marcus wasn't only documenting Weiss's firearms sales. He stumbled upon something larger. Weiss is a part of an umbrella. The guns aren't only for tribes. There's a pipeline to groups that are going to overthrow territorial governments. The words struck Fletcher like an iceberg fist. This wasn't one rogue arms dealer. This was conspiracy, treason, something that could rip the frontier in half. Below them, torches flared through the trees as Weiss's troops searched the valley. Finally, they crested the ridge and traveled down the thin mining road. From there, Fletcher saw the camp below. The remains of an abandoned way station, firelight shining through its ruined walls. For horses were tethered close to the rubble, indicating some riders were still out hunting. There, Tabitha breathed, her finger extended toward the fire. Weiss himself crouched bent over, papers fanned out on a flat rock. His scarred fingers flipped through each page in the firefight's glare. Fletcher squinted. The letters. He's reading Marcus's proof out in the open. Arrogant jackass thinks he's already got the win. They moved down the hillside, changing position behind shadows. Loose rocks betrayed them more than once, but the guards were negligent. Two lounged close to the fire, scrubbing rifles, and one stood lookout at the edge of the creek. His back turned outward, precisely where Weiss anticipated game to emerge. The sentry's looking the wrong way, Fletcher breathed. If we can reach those rocks behind camp, we can get him off balance. Tabitha seized his arm. Her voice was low and hot. Fletcher, if we do this, there's no going back. Weiss won't rest until one of us is dead. He already won't, Fletcher said. He inspected his revolver, every chamber filled, every bullet poised. His voice grew cold. At least this way we fight. They diverged, Tabitha gliding to the right, Fletcher stepping to the left, moving like predators stalking prey. The strategy was easy. She'd provide a diversion, Fletcher would grab the letters, and whatever else Weiss had withheld from Marcus. Beneath a heap of rock that had been the way station wall, Fletcher leaned low. Weiss sat in the firelight, 20 feet away, his scarred hands stroking Marcus's letters as if tasting triumph. Fletcher clenched his hand around the revolver. His uncle's honesty was strewn out on that rock, and so was the best hope for justice. Fletcher huddled in the darkness, within earshot of Weiss's low laugh as the arms merchant scanned Marcus's letters as though they were nothing but a joke. Then, a rock bounced on the distant hillside. Tabitha's warning. Simultaneously, the guard whirled from the sound. Rifle up. The two men at the fire leapt to their weapons and raced into the shadows, but Weiss did not stir. He remained sitting, unruffled as ever. The incriminating letters fanned out on the rock before him. That was the break Fletcher was looking for. He burst from cover, ran headlong into the light of the fire, and leapt onto the rock, sending papers flying into the darkness. Weiss's head jerked up, and before he could draw a breath his hand was on his pistol. "Hinrich Weiss," Fletcher snarled, stuffing letters into his shirt. "You killed my uncle." The old man's smile was glacial, pistol rocksteady. "Marcus Knox was a fool," Weiss said calmly, "just like his nephew." As Fletcher tried to shoot, a shot rang out from somewhere in camp. Tabitha. She was having trouble. There were shouts all around them, boots on the dirt. But Weiss's attention never faltered. His eyes moved to Fletcher, gun trained squarely at his chest. "Those essays won't get you out of it," he taunted. "Even if you flee, there's no one to provide them to. I have every soul worth having in this territory. And now," he cocked the hammer, "you can join your uncle." The shot came, ringing in the destroyed station, but it wasn't Weiss who fired. Weiss twitched spasmodically, blood spreading across his chest. He collapsed forward onto the strewn evidence, dead before his head hit the rock. Tabitha stood in the flickering firelight, revolver smoking in her grip. Fletcher drew hard breath, gathering up the final of the letters. "The others?" he demanded. "Johnson attempted to grab me." "He won't make the attempt again," she replied, calm though her hands trembled ever so slightly. Martinez witnessed what occurred and fled. They frisked Weiss quickly, aware that reinforcements could come back. Around his neck was a foreign-appearing medallion, strange, with unfamiliar symbols. More significant was what they discovered in his portfolio: maps of arms caches, lists of corrupt government officials, and letters from one the general. "This is bigger than Marcus ever realized," Fletcher muttered, scanning one page. "They're planning to topple 3 territories at once. Replace the governments with their own." "We're planning," Tabitha corrected, holstering her gun. "Hard to lead a conspiracy when you're lying in the dirt." They gathered everything: weapons, horses, and most importantly, every scrap of Marcus Knox's evidence. As they saddled up, Fletcher's eyes burned with new resolve. "We're not riding to Denver," he declared categorically. Tabitha's head snapped around to him. "Back to town? Fletcher, are you out of your mind? Weiss told me he owned them all there." "Possibly, but federal law prevails over territorial law. There is a telegraph office in town. We send it all direct to Marshal Carson, and let him come to us." He mounted Weiss's own black stallion, grim justice in the saddle. 3 weeks later, the ranch was rebuilt even stronger than it had been. Fletcher leaned on the porch watching Tabitha hang clothes on the line, her hair loose in the summer wind. Marshal Carson had come with federal agents in strength. Weiss's whole network was dismantled, his supporters arrested, their supposed general unmasked as Klaus Richter, a dishonored Prussian military officer wanted on both sides of the border. With their boss murdered and their plans laid bare, the plot dissolved overnight. Tabitha looked up and caught Fletcher gazing. A gentle smile spread across her face, the first one unfettered by fear since they'd first met. "No regrets?" she inquired. Marcus sprang to mind, justice achieved, and the woman who had begged once for protection but had grown into so much more. His partner in the deepest meaning of the word. "None," he replied softly, grasping her hand. "Not one. If you enjoyed this tale, don't write off yet. Tap the video on your screen for another unforgettable story where bravery and fate meet in the Wild West. And if you wish to support us in continuing to bring these tales to life, don't forget to subscribe and think about supporting through Super Chat. Your contribution goes further than you think.